I'm Natalie Savona, mum, author and food expert. I'm passionate about how we can eat healthily, save money and be more thoughtful about where our food comes from. I'll be meeting the people pioneering new ways food can be grown, sold and eaten. Putting people before profit and creating a more responsible food system. These are the Food Rebels. This week I'm in West Yorkshire to visit incredible edible Todmorden. Their story began in 2007 when two local activists decided to replace the ornamental and prickly plants across the town with vegetable, fruit and herb plants, producing food to share for anyone who wanted it. Almost a decade on, Incredible Edible has had an impact across the UK and beyond. They've inspired towns and cities all over the world to use public space to create edible landscapes and propaganda gardens. I joined a group from the National Food Sovereignty Gathering for a tour with our Incredible Edible guide Estelle Brown. She welcomes visitors from all over the world who are fascinated by what's going on in this small Yorkshire town.
It's almost all currant bushes, and they were planted by 7-year-old junior wardens 4 or 5 years ago now, so they're very well established. But we like to get young people involved. Our youngest volunteers are 3, and the oldest volunteer is 71, which is moi. So we go through the whole range of ages.
So, were you involved with Incredible Edible from the start?
Yes, they needed a nerd, and
Wow.
I'm the only one that knew anything about making websites and social media and that sort of thing, so I was in right from the beginning. So this was Mary's rose garden. The wall was up to about here, and it was full of the most beautiful roses you can imagine. When we had our first meeting, it was February and there was snow and ice on the road, and everyone wanted to rush out and dig up Todmorden right there and then. But of course you couldn't because the ground was too hard. But Mary came home and she said, "Fred, take down the wall, take out all the roses, put in raised beds and plant food to share." So this is Mary's sharing garden, and anyone, anytime can just come and take what they want from here. And as I came past this morning, I saw 2 people picking from here. It's really well used. And all year round, there is something to be found in it.
Where does Mary live? Just in there?
There, yeah,
So
that's Mary's house. Mary and Pam had a talk round Mary's kitchen table in there. And of course, in a kitchen table, you have food on the table. So they decided to use food as a key to start a conversation. Mary's daughter Emily was sitting in the next room, and she shouted out, "Why don't you call it Incredible Edible Todmorden?" And so it was born. These blue gates are always open for anyone to put stuff in, so people who want to donate to Incredible Edible Todmorden know they can just go through those gates and dump it. And the thing is, if you only take nasty, scruffy, unsafe places and make them safe and beautiful with food to share, the council is never going to tell you you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because they would be hated.
So you don't go to the council and ask for permission. You just
no, they might say no.
Stealthily go for it.
No.
And
never ever ask for anything.
Have they ever said no, you can't do that?
No. They know what we do. There's a very good example I'm going to show you next where they know what we do and now help us look after it, but they don't officially acknowledge that it's there. So I will show you that one next.
Chastised?
No, and the council now have taken the name Incredible Edible Calderdale. So they've taken the name for the whole valley, which we don't mind at all.
No one questions you?
Well, this is the thing people do. They come along and say, "What are you doing? Why are you doing it?" And if you're planting, say, a carrot, everyone knows how to plant that carrot better than you're doing it.
Ah, okay.
So one guy will come along and say, "Well, I wouldn't do it like that, I'd do it like this." And then someone else would come along and say, "Well, back home in Pakistan, I would do this." And then a pothead will come along and say, "What is it? Can I smoke it?" Suddenly you've got 3 different sorts of people that would never speak to each other having a conversation. So to me, that's what it's about. It's more about that than it is about growing food. Well, I find the whole concept that people want to do it or come and see us crazy. The whole thing is just mad. Spark News had us on 31 magazines and websites in one day in different countries, 31 different countries. It just blows my mind because what we're doing is not special. Anyone can do this.
No, but they don't. That's what's special. Not that anyone can do it, but the fact that you are doing it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that holds people back is fear. They've always thought, only fools rush in, don't be the fool. Be the fool, rush in. What's the worst that can happen? Do it.
What do you think the fear is of?
Getting arrested. I have begged to be arrested. White-haired old lady arrested for planting a carrot. I know every national paper. Can you imagine the headlines?
Have you failed to be arrested?
Yes.
You failed in your wish?
I've failed. My only failure in life has not to get arrested for being a vegetable vandal. So none of this has permission to be here. Oh, please do eat. Eat, eat. Munch, munch. Yes, every part of this plant is edible. Yeah. The seeds make beautiful capers, just checking for wildlife because I'm vegan. The flowers are lovely. Try one. It's mild, and then as you're eating it, you get a peppery thing come. Yeah, getting the heat. So none of this has permission to be here. We did ask about 5 inspectors ago, and they said, if you ask me, we'll have to ask division, we'll have to ask headquarters, we'll have to ask London, and they might come back in 3 years and say no. And we took that as, so don't ask me, just do it. So we just did it. And the police absolutely love it. They've had delegations from India come to the police station just to see what they're doing here.
No.
Yeah. You will see some strange signs around the place that the police have made. There's one up there called Let's Be Avenue. Over there is Sergeant Bowden's Lonely Peppers Club Band.
Oh, brilliant.
And there was one there, but all the paint is peeled off, and it said, "Welcome to Todmorden Police," crossed out, pollination station. Also, this window here, the police can see out, but you can't see in.
Oh, yes.
And I still get a real buzz taking an artichoke from there, knowing they can see me take it, and just walking away from the police station with something and not...
Let's Be Avenue.
There we are. Let's Be, as in bumblebee or honeybee, Avenue. And these are all cherry trees here.
Rebel, rebel, put on your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp.
Now, any skill is welcome in Incredible Edible. Not everyone can grow. I can't grow. The only thing I grew before Incredible Edible was my fingernails. People say, I can't grow, can I be part of it? Yes, can you sew? No, I can't sew. Can you wash up? Yes, I can wash up. Okay, you come to our events and you wash up the cups and saucers. This lady is a poet. She studied haiku in Japan and she teaches haiku at Manchester University. So we said, okay, you're our Incredible Edible Poet Laureate, write us vegetable haikus. So we have our Poets' Corner. My favourite was on that tub there, and it's been stolen because someone else has such wonderful taste, the same as I've got. And it said, a cabbage, when taken apart, becomes all heart and leaves. I knew so many young men like that.
Rebel, rebel, put on your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
So this is our multi-million-pound health centre, and it was surrounded by your average corporate planting, prickly things, ornamental trees, fire thorns, stuff that doesn't take anything to look after but produces nothing useful. And we said to them, why would you not surround it with healthy food? Why would people not see their 5 a day on the way in and be able to pick their 5 a day on the way out? And they said, no. Yes, why wouldn't we? And we said, don't worry, we'll take out everything that's in here and replace it with food. And if you say that really quickly, it doesn't sound like a lot of work, but then you actually physically have to do the work, and it's quite hard. But we took out everything that was in here and replaced it with food.
Even in the car park?
Yeah, all of that's nut trees and fruit trees, currant bushes all the way along there, currant bushes and raspberries all the way along there, cherry trees. One of the doctors, Dr. Okanga, is from Kenya, I think, but he spent a lot of time in Poland, married a Polish girl, and he grew a lot of strawberries. And one of these is his surgery, so we planted loads and loads of strawberries outside his surgery for him. They were a lot better, but this floods. So that's what it was like, this stuff here, which we all took out. But there are kiwi fruit growing in there and some josta berries and other things.
Kiwi?
Yeah, this is the kiwi vines. Well, there's no fruit on them at the moment, but they're getting more established and stronger, so maybe next year if we get some sun, which is rare in Todd. This is the apothecary garden. Everything in here is a medicinal herb. This is the witch's bed. So you've got earth, fire, wind and water. In the middle you've got the spirit. That's as much as I know about witchcraft, I'm afraid. But we do have resident witches who
As much as
do
you're
things.
letting on.
Yeah.
Well, that was the end of Estelle's tour, and it was time to head over to the kitchen to cook up a feast. Join me in part 2, when we use produce from the edible landscapes to make lunch, and we meet food rebel Pam Warhurst to find out why aquaponics could be the key to the future of urban agriculture. Welcome back to Food Rebels. This week I'm with the incredible Edible Gang in Todmorden, West Yorkshire. I've had the tour around town and I'm in awe of this project that uses public space to grow food to share. We've come to the incredible Edible Kitchen to cook up a feast using produce from the edible landscapes across town. Chef Hilary, a passionate vegan, has put together a brilliant menu using the town's crops as well as seasonal organic food from within a 50-mile radius. On the menu today we've got falafels. We're using fava beans instead of the usual ingredient chickpeas. These fava beans are actually grown in the UK, whereas chickpeas are imported. We're roasting local seasonal veg with herbs. Diana has shown us how to make flatbreads. We've made a pesto dip as well as Hilary's homemade vegan mayonnaise for a coleslaw dish. A green salad adorned with the nasturtium flowers grown outside the police station. And beetroot with stir-fry greens. For dessert, we're making a fruit flapjack bake using British apples with oats, Todmorden's indigenous crop. It all looked delicious, but just as we were about to dig in, Food Rebel and Incredible Edible co-founder Pam Warhurst arrived. She had just a few minutes to spare to show me the incredible aqua garden next door. So despite how good the food looked, I couldn't say no to a chat with Pam. So where are we?
Well, this is the Incredible Aqua Garden, and it's the learning bit of Incredible Edible. Because what we realised is we do all the propaganda gardens and we do food to share, and you've seen it on the street and all the crazy stuff in front of the police station and heaven knows what. But what we really wanted to do was to show people how to be real urban gardeners, real urban farmers, because they say by 2050 we're going to have to grow 40% of our food from urban settings. Well, who's investing in that? So we thought we'd do it ourselves. So this is where you can learn aquaponics, so you can grow fish, and with the nutrients from the fish water, that would be poo to anybody else, you can actually grow vegetation. Or hydroponics, which is all this stuff, which is if you're stuck without soil, how can you grow great food in an urban setting, in a backyard, on a roof, up a wall, whatever. And we also teach people about soil and soil science and the importance of living soil, not dirt. So this is kind of the centre that was built with lottery money. And we're in partnership with the local high school. We're on their grounds. So it's community and school coming together to help families and kids grow well in the future, whatever the setting is.
And who are you teaching? Who comes to learn?
Well, we've got people that come to learn how to cook and share some experience about what's growing locally, what's seasonal or whatever. We've had young people where we've put them through a BTEC in agriculture, which is probably some of the first qualifications they've ever had. So they've learned how to grow, they've learned about compost, they've learned some basic things like that. We've had every single primary school kid in Todmorden through this centre. And this is very visual. You can see stuff growing, you can see tomatoes growing, you can see the fish hopping about, you can learn to respect the different forms of life that ultimately, I guess, is going to be on your plate in the future. Aquaponics. Now, it's really getting quite a lot of national interest and international because, you know, all this stuff about taking fish, too many fish from the sea, how are we going to get protein without actually doing that? So this is a little piece of an equation. It's like Incredible Edible. It's not a solution, but it's an offer of part of a solution. You grow fish in these tanks. We're trying to keep them low density because this isn't about intensive fish farming. This is about teaching people that you can respectfully breed fish, low density, get the nutrients in the water, the fish poo, which come and float, the water floats up into these clay balls, and then what happens is, you can see some fish, where are we? There's some fish, here we are.
Oh, yep.
These are tilapia in warm water, and their fish poo is what's making this lot grow. And this was only planted the other day. You can see it's really healthy, it's really happy. So what you do, you have your fish, you respect their life, so it teaches kids about respect for life, and it also teaches them the science of using those nutrients from the water in growing the sorts of vegetables that they're then going to have on their plate. We've got rocket, we've got pak choy, we've got chard, at the front we've got watercress. So those leafy vegetables, that's aquaponics.
And do you find that the children are more inclined to eat them when they've seen what happens?
They're inclined to eat them, and they're inclined to be interested in where their food comes from. So the little kids have a look in this and they start to ask the questions. Because before, they just saw something dead in a supermarket or in a plastic bag. So they're now starting to say, I like that or I don't like that. How does that, you know, I think there's too many fish. Can I taste some of these things? And then they're starting to say, could we do it in the classroom? And actually you can, you know, you can have a small fish tank, and instead of just having fish aimlessly swimming around, you've got fantastic little drivers, little engines, if you like, for growth, because the fish in the fish tank, if you put a layer on the top similar to this, can actually then grow the vegetables. And children start to see the cycle of life. And if we're going to get those urban farmers in the future and start respecting people who produce food, as opposed to what we do at the moment, which is, it's got nothing to do with me, that's what farmers do, and actually you don't need any qualifications to do it, you do. It's one of the greatest, most, you know, wonderful things in the world to be able to grow food for people, and that's what we're doing here. And beyond, out there, we've also got hydroponics, which is this minus the fish. So, you know, when you haven't got soil, there are nutrients you can put in pots, and you can start to grow tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers and chilies and things like that. And what's great about that is, for example, Martina, who looks after this, what fantastic apprentice of ours, she's working with an older man who used to have a greenhouse and soil and all that stuff. He's too old to do that now. But we can set him up a system of hydroponics that isn't meaning he's got to, you know, at 80 odd, dig up the soil. He can actually see his vegetables grow in a way that he can deal with, even at 80 odd. So, you know, it's a growing skill for everybody, whatever your age.
I was about to say, it sounds like you're spanning the entire life course, from primary school to octogenarians.
It's great. And what's even greater is that when you start to talk to older people, you get all the feedback of the skills that they've got. You know, I mean, I remember my granddad growing tomatoes and the smell of that tomato. All we're trying to do is reconnect people to their food through actually seeing it in the places that they pass every single day. Edible landscapes. That's my aim in life. Let us cover this country with edible landscapes so kids grow up in orchards and in vegetable patches right in the middle of the towns and cities where they live. Why not?
What's your favourite urban edible landscape?
My favourite urban edible landscape, well, I used to say our graveyard beans, because we used to grow in a graveyard where I like to say the soil was particularly good. But we've stopped growing there for now. So probably my favourite patch is the doctor's surgery. That's fantastic. And what we're trying to do is to get health centres everywhere in the country to make edible landscapes around where they live. So that instead of going to the doctors to pop a pill, You might go to the doctor's to eat some strawberries and then learn how to turn them into jam. That's what we want.
This is absolutely amazing.
We're just experimenting all the time, I know.
Plastic casing.
Now, the great thing about this is in season, you can then, when it's full, you can then just take it to a classroom and then you can hang it, you know, which is...
And this is watercress.
This is watercress, yeah, you can have a taste of it. Yep. It's nice and bitey. Leafy greens grow particularly well, and when they're really, you know, full, you can unhook it, you can take it into a classroom, you can show it to the kids, you can say, taste a bit of this, this is watercress, but it might be spinach, it might be lettuce, it could be a number of things. And kids, you know, again, that gets them interested and they start asking questions. And once they're asking questions, you've got them. Peppery,
That's lovely and fiery. And is this chard?
This is chard, yeah, absolutely. And here, as I say, you can see more chard growing, pak choy, you can see some lovely rocket in there.
So this is some sort of resin?
Yeah, it's resin, and it was built, purpose-built for us. But you can do this on a much smaller scale. You don't have to have this size. And that's what we're trying to encourage people in classrooms to do, build smaller units. And then what we can do is, you know, crop it. It's getting to the end of the season now, so you can see the tomatoes, but this room has been filled with cucumbers and peppers and all manner of things, which we then crop and we'll take through to the kitchen and we can cook meals for people. And that's what we're doing today.
I am so impressed by what's going on here in Todmorden. I don't think I've met a community so proactively creating the change that they want to see. I'd missed the gorgeous lunch and I may have been left with an empty stomach, but I was full with excitement for Pam's vision of edible landscapes across the UK. Incredible Edible brings communities together through growing, sharing and eating real food. The secret to its success is that it starts a conversation about something that connects us all, the food we eat. Next week on Food Rebels, I'm at the local Food Links kitchen in Dorset, making a meal for 1,000 hungry primary school children.